Fighting games in VR vary drastically in quality. Motion controls are great for swinging your punches, but the lack of impact feedback kind of brings down a lot of these games. Street Gods from Soul Assembly launched last month and changes all of this. It takes fighting games to a brand new level in VR. So as I say, Street Gods is a fighting game. It's not like a one-on-one beat-em-up or anything like that. It is straight up a brawler, an arena-based brawler, essentially. And you play as a character called Val, a teenage girl from New York who likes graffitiing and spray painting and being a bit bad, who stumbles upon a hammer with the soul of Thor trapped inside. Yes, that Thor. The kind of Marvel Disney-esque side of Thor, but the original storyline, it's weird. But it works. And the game delivers such a pacing that realistically the whole story element to it, it's nice, but it's not really needed. What is important to note though is the super fun combat that's in this game. So the key element of the game is that hammer. Is the hammer that you wield for during combat. You can bash enemies with it, you can throw it at enemies, you can do all sorts of uppercuts and boomerang throws. And basically, by pulling the grip button on the controller, it will always return to your hand. So you can throw it to stun enemies, and then dash towards them and press that grip button, the hammer comes back, and you can beat them with it. Really cool stuff. You can imagine the kind of elaborate combos that you can get from doing this. And combining it with different skills, like I say, uppercut or boomerang throws, which stun group of enemies, and power blows, which are initiated after you've done a sequence of 3 hits to an enemy. You get some pretty cool attacks going on. That you can launch enemies into the air, you can pull them down off of high levels by using your whip ability, which is in your offhand, and then bash them with the hammer as they get close to you. It's really fun. It's really fun and really well done. It's a bit basic compared to some fighting games, but it's never not enjoyable. And the variety of enemies that are thrown at you is fantastic as well. Starts off really simply, as you can imagine, just dudes that walk towards you quite slowly, and then builds to enemies that like throw grenades at you, or enemies that set you on fire, and all different kinds of enemies that require all different kinds of tactics. So it's not just straightforward, I'm going to go bash everything in the arena. You do need to actually pay attention to which enemies you're in combat with at any time, and make sure that you are tactically using your abilities to take them out in the correct order. Or else you might die, and that will end your run. And the game, it starts off quite easy, but it does build in difficulty pretty quickly. So you'll need to make sure you're using your abilities and keeping your head on a swivel at all times to know where all the enemies are in each arena to make sure that you come out on top. Helping you along the way are numerous new abilities. There are only a few attack, like weapon types in the game. As I say, you've got the hammer, which is your main weapon, and then soon after you start, you get a whip, which can pull enemies towards you, although it's a bit tricky to execute at times. And then later in the game, you'll get a shield and another weapon, which we're not going to spoil right now. And all of these combine into a great mix-up of different attacks you can do, different abilities, different combos, and so on. But also, on each run, yes, the game does have a roguelike element, which is predictable for VR right now. On each run, you can gain new power-ups that adjust your character's abilities in some way. You can get usual like health increases or damage output increases or speed increases, but also things like a revive if you were to die in a specific arena, or boosted damage when your health is at max. Various other different abilities, the kind of stuff that if you're a roguelike fan, you'll probably be familiar with. And as for that roguelike element, the way that the game works is a bit different to what you might be assuming. At the hub of the game, there is what's called a taffle board, and this has a start and an end point, and sometimes a few blocks in between. And you must gather other tiles to place on the taffle board to determine your run, the duration of it, and so on. Each of these tiles that are placed on the board represents an arena, and you will start in an arena, defeat all the enemies, maybe explore around a little bit, trying to find some secrets or hidden bonuses, and then move on to the next one. And so on, and so on, and so on. So the amount of tiles that you place on the board determines how many arenas you will go through in order to complete that run. Should you die in a run, you're going to lose all your temporary power-ups. You never lose the weapons, but all those temporary power-ups you've gained, they're gone. and you need to start another run. Should you complete the run, you're going to find yourself in more difficult encounters. The game's story is delivered in twofold, essentially. The first is through 2D planes with voiceovers. Now, these 2D planes are exceptional. The amount of parallax that's in there and the comic book stylings of the game really impress. And the other element is through voiceover, through dialogue in the game. And honestly, at the start of the game, this is a bit tedious. The voice acting is fantastic, but the amount of lines and dialogue that's delivered to set up the game, really you just want to go and bash some heads, and they're talking at you far too long. Later in the game, it's much better paced, and you do actually have an interest in Val and Thor's adventure, some of the characters that you'll meet, and the adventure that you'll be partaking in. But all of this is wrapped up in some honestly immaculate set dressing. Street Gods, honestly, is one of the best games that I've played recently in terms of production values. I mean, it doesn't compare to things like Batman Arkham Shadow, but as far as indie development goes, everything here is so well designed. From the art style, to the animation, to the voiceover, to the soundtrack, to the delivery of the combat, the swiftness of the pace at which the game moves. It's fantastic. Honestly, Street Gods hasn't got that much attention since it launched, and that is a real shame, because the game, the presentation of it, is simply second to none. So while it's not going to appeal to people who don't enjoy fighting games, and if you're looking for something a bit more complex, this isn't that game. This is a simple, all-out brawling game with a little roguelike element. If you maybe imagine Deadpool with less guns and a little bit of a roguelike element, and you'll probably be pretty close to what Street Gods is.
I have no time for you.
They sent more. I think we almost juggled him up. Yeah, you wait for me.
Kill these last three. Only two left. I'll give them one.
Okay, I'm done with you now.
So if that's your jam, I highly recommend Street Gods. It's only available for MetaQuest 3 and MetaQuest 3S, so if you're playing on MetaQuest 2, you're out of luck. But for those of you with a MetaQuest 3 or MetaQuest 3S who love fighting games, go and check this one out. It launched a bit too late for our recent Best Fighting Games in 2025 video, which you can see up the top right now, but maybe it's going to make it into a 2026 edition. We'll see later in the year.